Hello and welcome to this very special YouTube Live from the Met Office in Exeter. This is the Met Office headquarters. I'm meteorologist and weather presenter Aidan McGivern. Those of you who are subscribed to the Met Office YouTube channel may already have seen a lot of the videos that we do, and if you're not subscribed, please do so that you can keep up to date with this extraordinary spell of weather, and of course all of the UK's weather will have you covered. And it is an extraordinary spell of weather. I've been a meteorologist for a long time, since 2007, and much earlier than that, my interest in weather formed when I was a child. And really, this is one of the most remarkable forecasts I've seen in my lifetime. The fact that we've got a red warning for extreme heat, and within that red warning area, we're expecting record temperatures and temperatures that the UK has never recorded before. So levels of heat we've never before recorded on Monday and Tuesday. I'll go into the details in just a moment about how hot we're expecting to get across all of the UK, how high the daytime and how high the nighttime temperatures will be, why we've got extreme heat warnings, the kinds of impacts we can expect, how unusual these temperatures will be, and what you can do to keep yourself cool, make sure other people stay safe as well. I'll go through all of that in just a moment, but I can see there have been some people patiently waiting and already asking questions in the chat. So I just wanted to answer a few of those questions. I'm never going to be able to get through all the questions because there have been so many already. I'm sure there'll be lots more. Do send in your questions, but it'll be very difficult to get through even a fraction of them. So I apologise if I'm not answering your question. But yeah, a few people have been asking questions so far, so I'm just going to scroll down the chat. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, before I explain what's happening with the weather over the next few days, I'll just answer a few of those questions because people have been waiting patiently and already submitting some questions in the chat. So someone has asked, only thing is, will we get power cuts as our electric grids are not used to these temperatures? That comes from Andy L. Very good question, Andy, and I'll talk about the kinds of impacts that there's a risk of in just a moment. But one of the risks is to the UK's energy supplies, and the Met Office have been working with the Department for Energy to try and minimise those impacts and try and keep people safe. But we have seen from previous episodes of high temperatures that can have an impact on energy supplies. So that is a risk, unfortunately. Someone called Unintelligent, I'm sure you're not, has said it's going to go from 37 Celsius on Tuesday to 22 Celsius on Wednesday. And that is possibly quite an accurate statement, depending on where you live, because some places will go from the high 30s down to the low 20s because a steep temperature decline is expected on Wednesday as temperatures head back towards normal. And yeah, I'll explain much more about the general setup and how temperatures will evolve over the next week or so in just a moment. I think I saw earlier someone has asked about putting their bed sheets in the fridge, and actually it's not recommended. I saw something from a sleep expert on social media who was saying that if you cool your bed sheets down too much, then that can have the opposite effect to what you intend, which is that you'll get too cold in bed and your body will then try and heat itself up and so overcompensate. So the best thing really is to apparently have a lukewarm shower before bed to get that core body temperature down a little bit, but also so that your body's not overcompensating. If you have a freezing cold shower, then it will overcompensate. And then to have loose bed sheets and obviously not thick pyjamas and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, lots of questions, but let's get into the details of what's happening with the weather over the next few days. These are the warning areas, and there is a reason why we've got those warnings out. The amber, and in this area, parts of northern England, central England into eastern England, red warning for Monday and Tuesday. There is a reason. I'll just go through the general setup over the next few days. It's not that warm outside at the moment, but temperatures are expected to really, really increase during the next few days. And if we... Oh, it's been a while since I used this. So here we go. If we take a look at the bigger picture and heading into the weekend, what we've got is high pressure moving in. Now that high pressure has been really influential recently across southern parts of the UK. It's been extraordinarily dry this summer so far. That's another story that I'm sure over the next few weeks and months could well develop into a big story itself. But high pressure is moving in widely across the UK this weekend. Now, Saturday will actually start off relatively cool in places. We were in the single figures this morning, and on Saturday morning, some places will be in the single figures. So not a particularly warm or hot start to the weekend. And there'll also be some rain, these weather fronts bringing some rain into the north of Scotland. Now, what we're expecting to see over the course of Saturday is those weather fronts will move away, the rain in the far north of Scotland will ease, but that high pressure will lead to, day by day, temperatures rising. And those temperatures, because at first this weekend, they're going to be rising because of the strong sunshine that will be widespread across the UK on Saturday. They'll also be increasing because of an effect known as subsidence. And so what you've got under an area of high pressure is sinking air. And just like when you pump your tyres up on your bike, you sometimes notice that some parts of that pump get very hot. That's because when the air gets compressed and under high pressure, the air sinks, it gets compressed near the surface, it heats up. And so what we're seeing, if I just zoom back in and put on the temperatures expected on Saturday, temperatures will begin rising. So Saturday's a warmer day than today, but nothing extraordinary just yet. 22 Celsius in Glasgow, 23 for Belfast, mid to possibly high 20s across southern parts of the UK. So a fine summer's day. Nothing to warn people about for Saturday. You'll notice 30 Celsius there in the Channel Islands, a hint of what's to come perhaps from the south later. Now, skipping forward just a day or so to Sunday, and you'll see that those temperatures, because of the strong sunshine, because of that day-by-day rise, they're starting to increase. So we're looking at widely mid to high 20s from southern and eastern Scotland into Northern Ireland, and across much of England and Wales, low 30s, high 20s for many places, so 32 Celsius. And this is the first day in which the temperatures really start to ramp up. And the reason those temperatures are beginning to rise at this stage, I'll just zoom out again, is that what we're seeing is the jet stream. It's got this fairly strange setup with the jet stream. You've got the main jet stream to the north of the UK in the summer. That often means sunny, dry weather and high pressure close to the UK. That's what we're seeing. But what's notable is this part of the jet stream, what we call a cut-off low. And this, in fact, is what we call a vortex, high in the atmosphere, so up where the aeroplanes fly. And this has been circulating just off the Portuguese coast all week. And what that's helped to do is just to build and really focus the heat across Spain and Portugal. And we've seen some remarkable temperatures in the Iberian Peninsula. Now, yesterday, Portugal's temperature reached 37.0 Celsius. 47. It's so high, even I don't believe it. 47.0 Celsius in Portugal, and that made Portugal's hottest day on record. And that heat has been building up. You can see the hot air there. Now, through Sunday and into the start of next week, as this area of high pressure moves away, this vortex will start to approach. And what happens is we get more of a southerly influence, and this plume of unusually hot air, very hot air, starts to drift towards the UK. And in fact, it just covers the UK for Monday and Tuesday. And it looks like the peak of that heat moves in Monday night and into Tuesday, especially across northern and eastern parts of the UK. So that's why we're seeing this setup. We've got the jet stream with two parts to it. To the north of the UK, so that allows high pressure, it allows dry, sunny and above average temperatures. But we've also got this vortex, which has helped to trap heat to the south of the UK, and it's through Sunday, Monday and Tuesday that heat will just be pushed our way. Ultimately, it's a fairly unstable setup, and that's why this heat wave, although it's going to last for several days and nights, it does have a end point, which is the middle of next week, because once that moves across the UK, there's a change on the way from Wednesday. More on that in just a moment. But let's take a look at how the temperatures will really start to increase because of that heat coming our way. And what we're going to see, just bring up the right chart here, here we go. Remove that one. These are Monday's maximum temperatures. Now, just to cover the whole of the UK, we've got mid to high teens in the north of Scotland. We've got mid to high 20s across central and eastern Scotland. And then Northern Ireland, Northern England, high 20s, low 30s. But across much of England and Wales, we're looking at mid to high 30s widely. And the most likely maximum temperature on Monday, somewhere between London and Lincolnshire, 39 Celsius. Now, if we get 39 Celsius on Monday, that would break the all-time temperature record, which currently stands at 38.7 Celsius. So Monday could be a record breaker, but watch what happens next. By Tuesday, it turns even hotter. And Tuesday looks very likely to be not only a record breaker, but it also looks likely that we'll see the UK's first ever 40 Celsius. So this has never happened before, and it looks likely that between London and Lincolnshire, we'll get a temperature of around 39, 40 Celsius. So this would be unprecedented. We've never had a temperature recorded in the UK of 40 Celsius before. And not just that, it's not just the fact that one or two spots could reach 40 Celsius, it's widely across much of England into East Wales that temperatures will be, again, for the second day in a row, mid to high 30s. And even up towards parts of southern Scotland, I think low 30s, parts of the central belt, 29, 30 Celsius, at Northern Ireland, high 20s. And so really it's the heat is at its most intense Monday and Tuesday, southern Scotland into much of England and Wales. And we're not just talking about high daytime temperatures, we're talking about very high overnight temperatures. So I'm just going to rewind the clock there to the start of Tuesday and put on the minimum temperatures. And these are the minimum temperatures. Now, London's average maximum temperature at this time of year is 24 Celsius. And this is the likely minimum temperature somewhere around the south and the east of England on Monday night, 25 Celsius. And if that happened, it would be the UK's warmest night on record. So the record goes back to 1990. It's 23.9 Celsius in Brighton. So there is that chance that we'll see the hottest day on record and the UK's warmest night on record. And it's worth bearing in mind several factors here. We've got unusually high temperatures by day, unusually high temperatures by night, not just focused in London and the southeast, but widely across much of England, Wales into southern Scotland, with above average temperatures for Northern Ireland and for much of the rest of Scotland. And it's the prolonged nature of that heat, Sunday into Monday into Tuesday, with very warm nights in between, which means that it will be very difficult to stay cool. We in this country, we have infrastructure that's built to keep temperatures higher in our homes. We have more well-insulated homes rather than homes that keep us cool. So it's the fact that we've got these very high temperatures by day and then little relief by night. That's what makes this particularly concerning. And just to put those temperatures into context, so I'll just go back to the maximum temperatures for Tuesday. And go back to the UK there. Just to put that into context. Now, I've seen a lot of talk about, we coped with heat waves like this in the past. We coped in 1976. We coped in 2003. A couple of things to say to that. Firstly, we've never seen temperatures, we've never recorded temperatures this high in the UK, both by day and by night. So we don't know how we would have coped in the past because this is hotter than all previous recorded heat waves. Secondly, we didn't cope in the past. In 1976, it looks like we recorded about 20% extra excess deaths that summer from the heat. That's one estimate I saw. And in 2003, well, there were huge health impacts across the UK and across Western Europe because of that heat wave. Now, in 2003, the UK temperature record was broken. It was recorded at 38.5 Celsius. Then, in 2019, just 3 years ago, that temperature record was broken again, 38.7 Celsius. Now, what we're forecasting, oh, by the way, 1976 peak temperature was 35.9 Celsius. So what we're forecasting for Tuesday is for temperatures to be 4 degrees higher than the hottest day of 1976 and more than 1 degree higher than the hottest day on record. Temperatures could be a degree or two either side of these, so still 4 days ahead. But either way, extreme heat, unusually high temperatures, both by day and by night. And whether it's 39, whether it's 40, whether it's 41, the same kinds of impacts will occur because we know from previous heat waves what those kinds of impacts can be. I'm just going to take a break to see if there are any questions. Lots of questions. Thank you for getting engaged with this. So Belfast Gav, if it's 40 Celsius being reached or even exceeded in official temperatures, how much worse in big city heat islands? That sounds truly awful. Well, it's a good question because it looks likely the highest temperature on Tuesday will be somewhere around Lincolnshire, perhaps Cambridgeshire, and some of the temperature sites in those spots are, well, they include Wittering in Cambridgeshire, they include Waddington, Cranwell in Lincolnshire. So those are the places where the heat seems to be focused. They're not big cities by any means. We do have an observation site in London, in St James's Park. We've got Kew Gardens, we've got Heathrow as well. So they could sample very high temperatures. But, you know, this kind of heat wave we may not see a huge difference in terms of peak temperatures in the middle of cities compared to more rural areas. That might be more the case, I think, overnight, when temperatures struggle to fall overnight. But by day, I think even rural areas will see those very high temperatures because we're expecting the peak to be somewhere around Lincolnshire, and it's not a particularly urban area, of course. So that's a great question from Belfast Gav. So Andy L has asked, Aidan, why do we have such temperatures this year in the west of Europe? That's a very good question. And what we've seen in recent years, actually, is that across much of Western and Central Europe, we've seen more and more of these extraordinary heat waves. They've both been longer lasting, more prolonged and more intense. And records seem to be tumbling every year in certain countries across Europe. So, for example, the Portuguese record was broken yesterday. That was only set a few years ago. And although the UK has tended to avoid the worst of those heat waves in previous, most recent summers, we have had a flavour of them. So, for example, in 2019, when Cambridge received its highest temperature, or got the UK's highest temperature on record, back in 2019, when we had the hottest summer on record. So what we are seeing is more frequent, more intense and longer lasting heat waves in Europe. And I've seen some research that suggests that Europe is seeing those impacts at a much faster rate compared with other land areas at the same latitude. So Europe's heat waves are getting more intense faster than, say, for example, parts of North America, parts of Russia at the similar latitude. That's just some research I recently saw. I'm not an expert on it by any means, but it certainly looks like, you know, we're getting more and more of these heat waves. They don't always impact the UK because, of course, we are often influenced more by the changeable Atlantic weather that comes our way from the west. That's where our prevailing weather comes from. So very often these heat waves occur to the south and, you know, the UK narrowly avoids them. But that's not the case this time. As I showed, the jet stream as well to the north of the UK, and we're seeing this big plume of heat arrive for Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. It says Edinburgh, it's Tasha B. It says Edinburgh, there's a 65% chance for thunderstorms on Wednesday. I'll talk a bit more in just a moment about, you know, potential showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday. But suffice to say at this stage, there's a lot of uncertainty about rainfall on Wednesday. What looks very likely is that temperatures will decrease sharply, heading back towards average across most of the UK. But there's a lot of uncertainty about how exactly that breakdown will happen, whether the hot air just gets pushed away and we see a quick return to sunny skies, or whether there'll be some dramatic thunderstorms. So, yeah, the computer model is picking up 65% chance of thunderstorms for Wednesday, but essentially we can only give risks of thunderstorms at this stage. For Wednesday, we can say that in the UK on Wednesday, there is the risk of showers, there's the risk of thunderstorms. I don't know, lots of places in the south and the east are very short of water, very dry last few weeks and months, but showers and thunderstorms, particularly if they only last a day or so, are not necessarily the most useful way to get some useful rainfall. Someone's asked about an unusual rise in sea temperature this summer. We have got warmer than average seas across the UK. And, you know, when you get a hot spell like this, then it's just going to boost them further. So yes, those sea temperatures around the UK will continue to be on the high side, and it doesn't look like that will change anytime soon. Good question from MLR Riders. ML Riders. What makes the Vortex move north, and what will be the feels-like temperature? The Vortex that I mentioned, just take a look at the bigger picture here. Let's put the jet stream on. So, as I mentioned, this vortex has been milling around just off this Portuguese coast all week. It's been trapping that heat and intensifying it. Now it does move north during the next few days and it pushes the heat our way, but then there's a breakdown. I'll talk about that in just a second. What makes it move north? Well, it looks likely that it's just going to be influenced by the jet stream to the north of it, almost picking it up and throwing it our way. So although it is detached from that jet stream, it looks like the jet stream to the west of the UK will take a dip, scoop up that vortex, and this spinning vortex will come our way. Now, I'll just show you what happens next. So this is Tuesday, and by this stage, it looks likely that parts of the southwest on Tuesday afternoon will begin to experience cooler conditions. The vortex, you'll notice by, what time are we? Overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday, arrives over the UK, and this part of the jet stream also dips south of the UK. So just pausing there, and the cooler colours are extending across much of the UK. It takes longer for the hot air to move away from the east and the north of England, and that's why that heat, which has been bottled up all week to the south, well, it continues to intensify across eastern and northern England, and that's where the highest temperatures are expected on Tuesday, even if it does turn actually a fraction cooler in the far southwest. And you can see much cooler weather there in the northwest of Scotland with the jet stream starting to dip on Wednesday. Now this is quite a conducive setup. You'll notice the jet stream just dipping over the UK. You've got hot air in place. It is quite a conducive setup for showers and for thunderstorms to take place because you've got rising air. You've got this low pressure high in the sky which helps to suck the air up, and you've also got the hot air at the ground. However, it does get a bit messy as this vortex comes close and this jet stream does its thing as well. Neither are that powerful. And so at the moment, different computer models are saying different things. And of course, shower distribution is always uncertain at this range. We're still 5 days away from Wednesday. But what looks very likely is the hot air will disappear and much cooler conditions on Wednesday. What looks possible are that we'll see showers and thunderstorms. But then I'll play it on a bit longer. I'm not sure how far it will go, possibly that far. After that, we've got a ridge of high pressure building back in. So even if we get some showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday, it looks likely that we'll see a return to mostly fine weather as that high pressure moves in, dry, mostly sunny, and temperatures probably in the south just a bit above average. Nothing extreme compared with the start of the week, but still not below average, still a bit above average, and perhaps staying changeable towards the northwest of the UK. Let's see, the models, good point, Connor. The models did pick this up a few weeks back, quite surprised how well they've done with this heat wave, and been quite bullish with the idea. And yeah, I think that's something that's, you know, once this hot spell has done its thing and you know, it's all over around the middle of next week, I think that's something that would be worth going back and looking at, because that's another really interesting part of this story, is the fact that I saw computer model runs at the very start of July that were suggesting extreme temperatures for the middle of July, so 2 weeks ahead. Now, at that time, they were in the minority of computer model runs, of course, because when you're looking 2 weeks ahead, and when you're running different computer models dozens of times every 6 hours or so, you're going to come up with a big range of temperatures 2 weeks ahead. And they were all saying very different things. You know, the temperature trend basically opened out, as it always does after a week or so. But as the last 2 weeks have gone by, what we've seen are more and more of these computer models joining in and saying that we're going to see some extreme temperatures. Mid to high 30s for many of them, still a minority saying 40 plus. And it's only the last couple of days that really all of the computer models have said mid to high 30s, risk of 40 Celsius. And it's when that happened that we had to, go up a gear in terms of our warnings, our forecasts, the temperature projections, and so on. It's only when you have that solid cross-model agreement. And, it's remarkable that we're still 4 days away from Tuesday, and we can say with such high levels of confidence what kinds of temperatures we'll see. And that's a testament to how much all the models are agreeing. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're all right, but it does lend support to the idea. And it does seem like not only are they agreeing on the latest model run, but they agree on the previous model run to that and the previous model run to that. So when you see these consecutive computer model runs where dozens of computer models are all projecting the same thing, and whether some of them are saying 36 or 37, and some of them are saying, higher than 40 Celsius, in a way, those are fine margins, and the impacts are likely to be the same. I just want to cover the impacts. I'll just go back to Tuesday's weather map here, because this is worth emphasising. So, as I mentioned at the start, for anyone who's just joining, these are the peak temperatures on Tuesday. So, mid to high 30s on Monday, and then the risk of 40 Celsius on Tuesday. Now, if we get 39 or 38 on Tuesday, a degree or so either side of that 40, it won't make much of a difference to the impacts we're expecting, because the impacts aren't based on thresholds of temperature. They're based on experience with similar heat waves and what we see happen to people's health and the infrastructure of the UK. And we're going to see 2 or 3 very hot days. We're going to see very warm nights, so temperatures in many places staying up in the low 20s and in some places staying up at 25 Celsius, which would make it the warmest night on record. So it's the fact that you've got the heat building by day, homes in the UK built to keep the heat in, and then little relief by night. Excuse me, very dry in here. Dry heat already experienced in the Met Office studio. So, it's that combination of how widespread the heat is, how long it will last, the warm nights, the very hot days, and the fact that temperatures will be higher than they've ever been recorded. And the UK is really not used to these temperatures. Both the population and infrastructure isn't set up for these kinds of temperatures. That's why we have the warnings. And that's why we're expecting impacts. So what kind of impacts can we expect? Widespread, population-wide adverse health impacts. Now, especially in vulnerable people, so the elderly, the very young, babies. I know from experience with 2 young girls that babies really struggle by night with these kinds of temperatures. When you live in a house, I've got a house that is really good at retaining heat. It's great in the winter, but terrible with weather like this. You go on holiday to Spain, their houses can cope much better with this kind of heat. That's what they're built for. And aircon as well, obviously. So, vulnerable people potentially impacted, but also fit and healthy people could be impacted by this level of heat. Also impacts to infrastructure, so to transport, to energy, to water supplies, and that's why the Met Office are working with the Department for Transport, so water agencies, to the Department for Energy and so on, to try and minimise those impacts and try and keep people safe. But there are some things that you can do to keep safe as well. So the advice is to look out for vulnerable people. If you've got neighbours who are on their own, elderly neighbours, or if you've got family members, if you look after or care for people who may be vulnerable, look out for them. And if you yourself live on your own, contact a neighbour or a friend or family member to make sure they check in on you as well. So look out for yourselves, look out for others, be kind to yourself. By day, don't go out and exert yourself in the daytime heat. Try and seek shade, sun cream, etc. And keep those homes keep your home cool as well. So keep your home in the shade. Close those blinds during the day to stop the sun from shining in and building those temperatures. Open the windows at night to allow the air to go out and for cooler air to come in. All pretty common sense advice, but important to look out for yourself, be kind to yourself, and look out for others. And dehydration, particularly actually with this heat wave, dew points, the humidity of the air will be very low, and so dehydration could be a big factor. So keep yourself hydrated, keep drinking water, avoid excess alcohol. So again, a lot of common sense advice, but do remember those things. And the final piece of advice is to, I can't remember what the final piece of advice is, but you get it. It's a lot of common sense stuff, but look out for yourself, look out for others, stay hydrated, and keep yourselves cool, keep yourselves shaded. I don't think there was another piece of advice. I think those are the main ones. But there are pieces of advice that you can find through the Met Office website, through various government pages as well. So do check out those if you want further information. And yeah, I'm going to see if there are any more questions, because I've been talking for a while. And just a few minutes left, I'll answer a few questions, and then you've probably heard enough from me. Why is the East Coast not as cool as the South Coast? Very good point, Mark. And the reason is, let's put that back on. The reason is because the winds will be coming up from the south. And so for the south coast of England, there will be some relief. It won't be as hot here. High 20s, 30, 31 Celsius on that immediate coast. Those winds will be keeping it cool. You can see the temperature gradient, actually, if I just zoom in there. You can see the temperature gradient, that effect, that cooler coastal effect in the far south. But the heat is much more intense to the north. So with the southerly wind direction, what we're seeing on Tuesday, well, the heat will be most pronounced to the north of London, really around Lincolnshire. It's travelling across a lot of land to get to Lincolnshire. It will be a bit cooler on the east coast, I think, but not so much a direct easterly wind. Unless some sea breezes kick in, sometimes that can happen, so the heat builds inland and then you get a bit of a sea breeze effect, and that can lead to cooler air. So very good point. But yeah, cooler on the south coast than the east coast because of the wind direction. Jason Britton, because Portsmouth is in the amber warning, does that mean we won't get any thunderstorms? It could hit more in the red zone, or is that long? Jason, the amber and the red warning don't have much to do with the showers and thunderstorms that could happen on Wednesday. The hottest areas may avoid showers and thunderstorms, whilst cooler areas may get them. It's very hit and miss and very difficult to predict the location of showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday. The amber and red heat warnings are to do with the distribution of the highest temperatures, but they may not have an impact on where thunderstorms could occur around the middle of the week. So let me just see if there's any more questions. I'll just answer two more, I think. Will we see hosepipe bans? Well, that's a difficult one for the Met Office to answer. We don't make those kinds of decisions, but it has been unusually dry across some parts of the country. And I know that some water agencies have asked people just to be careful about how much water they use, because when you get hot air like this, demand for water does go up. So that's an important thing to bear in mind. Someone said, Fen Solo has said, this is why I hate the summer. I'd rather be playing in the snow. Yeah, I'm similar. I'd rather be playing in the snow. I do like nice summery weather, but this is certainly too hot for me. And I'm lucky to be living near the south coast where it will be more comfortable. But still, those humid nights, particularly Tuesday night into the start of Wednesday, I think will be really uncomfortable wherever you live. One more question, I think, and a lot of people chatting amongst themselves, which is great to see. I'm just seeing if there are any actual questions. Aside from drinking water, what else can we do? So I'll just reiterate some of that advice. Look out for yourselves, look out for vulnerable people being the elderly, the very young, babies. But it's not just vulnerable people. When the heat is really of an unprecedented nature like this, it's not just vulnerable people who are at risk. Fit and healthy people can be too, especially if those fit and healthy people go out and overexert themselves during the middle of the afternoon, because we're used to hot weather at times in the summer, so you might think, oh, it's just another hot day, it's just a typical summer's day, I'll just go out and do my usual bike ride or run or whatever. But this is a different scale. It's never seen before temperatures in the UK by day and by night, so even fit and healthy people can struggle. So look out for yourself, look out for others, check in on neighbours who may be on their own, or friends and family who may be on their own. And if you are on your own, ask others to check in on you as well. That's one piece of advice. Stay hydrated, of course. This is likely to be dry heat, so your body could lose water very quickly. So really do stay hydrated and avoid excess alcohol, because that leads to dehydration. And the final thing is to stay cool. So avoid exerting yourself outside, stick to the shade if possible, lots of sun cream and so on, and keep your home nice and cool by having those shades down when the sun's shining in during the day. So I'll end on that advice, but you can find more of that sort of thing online. You can find more details on the Met Office warnings on the Met Office website. There's the amber and red warning areas. So yes, a large part of the country at risk of impacts from this extraordinary spell of hot weather. Very unusual temperatures by day and by night, record-breaking, and the chance that we'll see the UK's first 40 Celsius, which is a very concerning thing indeed. Stay up to date with all the latest Met Office forecasts and warnings through the weekend. We'll keep you updated. But yes, stay safe and look out for others.